I'm ready. Tell me when you're in. Absolutely ready. Ready all the time. Ever ready. Welcome, everyone. It is 5:15 on Monday, May 23rd, 2016, and the Carroll City Council meeting is now in session. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please note all council members are present. Our first order of business is the consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes of the May 9th meeting, approval of bills and claims, licenses and permits, which include a new 5-day Class C liquor license with outdoor service, Rock and Ride Kick the Can, Carroll Cycle Center, June 11th, 2016. Also a new 5-day Class C liquor license with outdoor service, Carroll Broadcasting Beer Can Alley for Graham Park on June 30th, 2016. An appointment of Kyle Fessenmeyer, Jeff Aiden, and Brooke Michelson to the Parks and Recreation and Cultural Advisory Board, all with 3-year terms set to expire 5/31/19. Need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Seaman?
Yes.
Katz?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes. Good job. Are there any oral requests and communications from the audience this evening that are things that are not already on the agenda? I know there's some here, but we'll get you. What I'm going to do, since we have 3 guests here, I'm going to move the ordinances down. We're going to go to the resolutions, and we're going to go to the resolution on fiscal year 2017 health insurance renewal, and I'll have Debbie come up first.
Thank you. That's very nice. Very nice. I have a handout for you.
Some extras there as well.
Thank you very much. Gerald is handing out a handout that we typically look at each year, which identifies the plan that we purchase from Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then right next to that plan that we purchase is the model plan that we partially self-fund to for our employees. And this helps to give you a pictorial as to what we buy and what we provide to them, and then of course what the pricing is for the plan that we purchase and the renewal rates for the 2016-17 plan year. And as you can see, those rates have escalated 9.42%. Also, there's some verbiage which we will come back to in between the top graph and the lower graph. The lower graph provides you with a total price comparison, which is a combination of not only the insurance that we purchase from Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, but the projected amount that we believe we will spend to partially self-fund this plan. Now, I will tell you that since 2010, we have been doing this, and we have been very fortunate to not hit the projections for partial self-funding. We project cautiously and conservatively and use best practice standards for those projections, but we've been lucky and we have not used all of those funds, again, since 2010. So you can see that for the 2016-17 plan year, which is all the way at the right of that lower chart, there's a projection for the Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield premium, the partially self-funding for the deductible and coinsurance, office visit services, and pharmacy, with the total projection of $627,000 for the 16-17 plan year. We projected For the 15-16 plan year, $570,000, $325,000. As it stands today, we project we will spend slightly less than $500,000 for the 15-16 plan year. It's not fully complete yet, but we have made projections based upon the claims that we have had to date. As you can see from some of the verbiage in the middle of this handout, particularly point number 5, over the last 6 plan years, which I just alluded to, we have actually seen overall plan year decreases over the last 6 years in the average of 3.5 to 4.4% per year. Obviously, there is no way to say that that will continue to decline in the future. We've been very fortunate. We also have a very strong well-being program here at the city, and those involved have really tried to promote well-being, and we think that, of course, is certainly key when you're partially self-funding.
I think one of the things, too, we have to, our employment has gone up. I think our police department is at full force now, which it hadn't been for
That's
several
absolutely.
years. So that's picked up, and I think we picked up, like, some of our other city staff.
That's absolutely correct. We are projecting toward the end of our 15-16 plan year, we have picked up approximately about 5 new contracts on the health plan. Now, when I say new, I don't mean new hires, but rather people that have had reasons to come on to our health plan, or positions that have been open that have been filled. And so there are 3 family plans and 2 single plans that are accounted for in the 2016-17 funding for the whole 12 months that are not accounted for in the 15-16 plan year for the entire 12 months. So that is also a portion of the total cost of $627,000.
What's been the average increase in other health plans? Are you aware of any?
Higher than this.
Way higher than, okay.
Higher than this. This is, increases for July 1 of 2016 have been higher in general than they were for July 1 of 2015. And I would say actually quite a bit higher, anywhere from 5 to 10% higher. So, and that has been our case as well, because last year we had a nominal increase. I mean, it was 1.5 points if memory serves me. But to have something under 10% this year is better than most.
Hopefully we can keep that going. Any other questions for Debbie? Thanks, Debbie. I appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments from the council? If not, I'll need a motion for approval of the attached resolution entering into a contract with Wellmark for health insurance benefits with a deductible of $3,000 single, $6,000 family, and an out-of-pocket maximum of $6,350 single, $12,700 family.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Space?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Manami?
Yes.
Fleischman?
Yes.
Motion's approved. Thank you. Our second resolution for the evening is for a proposal for the executive search for city manager and Mr. Bill Mulder.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Bill Mulder, William Mulder. I'm here to discuss the proposed scope of services that you have before you regarding a search for Garrel's replacement. That's going to be hard to do. There's not easy to replace a unique person like him, but we'll have some good success. And I also want to thank you for the previous business that we've been able to do with this city. I have very limited experience in searching for city managers, But I've teamed up with my partner, Jack Lipovac, who's been involved with the searches that we've done. Either he led them or I led them on some of the other appointments here. And Jack has had substantial experience in dealing with searches for city managers. He placed the city manager in Altoona, Johnson, Pleasant Hill, Nevada, Newton, several other places that are that he's listed in the package, I believe. We've been working together for about 7 years now. We started when we figured out that we had complementary skill sets, and we able to assist each other and do a more professional search process together than we were able to do alone. Together we filled police chief positions, public works, finance directors, human resources, parks directors, wastewater treatment supervisors, even a landfill manager, which was really a unique experience for me. I'd never had anything to do with landfill before, and found out that that is a pretty complicated process as well. In our history, Jack has been an independent consultant for 25 years. Before that, he was with another company. He's been in the HR business for over 35 years. Me, I've been in consulting for 13 years. I was the chief of police in Des Moines, Iowa. I retired from there and decided that I wanted to open up my company. And we each have our own companies. We still continue to have separate identities. We just work together on a number of cases. That experience that we both bring to the process, I think, is beneficial. We have a wide range of contacts that we can reach out to for filling positions. We are able to find the candidates both through the normal advertising process and through these contacts, and we have teamed up to do this search if that is acceptable. We're both Iowa companies. We understand the culture of Iowa and the needs of Iowa government. But I think our strong suit is that we involve a lot of people in the search process. We build a position profile. From that, we will get information from each one of the council members, from members of the city staff, citizens that do interact with the council on a regular basis, and understand what it is needed to fit the culture of the city as well as the needs of the organization. Your job description is only the first part of it. It's the art of this person has the personality skill set that's needed in this position and will fit quite well. There's some other advantages to that process besides giving us information on what kind of a person to look for. When we involve a lot of people in the process, they begin to get ownership of the product that comes out. They may not say that, yeah, I think the person you select for this position would have been my first choice, but I know that person had skills, wasn't a dud, and I will work to participate in making that person successful. Their ownership of the process benefits the involvement of the individual from that point on. We'll advertise on websites, the typical search engine websites, publications, organizations, use email, use professional contacts to spread the word the position is open and that there's an opportunity to apply for it. Executive level searches such as this take quite a bit of time, and certainly the council doesn't have the time to spend, so the advantage of hiring a search firm to do that, we take a lot of the stuff out of the way before it begins to become a burden on the council. Our objective will be to reduce the list of applicants down to about 10 good quality applicants and engage the council in reducing that list to a further smaller number, suggest about 5 people. And then we'll do some sort of a evaluation process involving the council. That's yet to be determined. One of the things that I strongly will recommend is that you involve various committees. The council obviously will be one of the major components of the selection process because this is your employee that you're hiring. Whether you want to do it as a council group or whether you want the mayor to be one of the committee members, that will be determined at a later point. We'll ask that you allow the staff, the department directors to be another interview committee because that's the people that will be working for this new city manager and get a feel for what kind of expertise, talent works well with them. Certainly recognize, one of the things that we've used, and I recommend that for this process as well, is form a panel of professionals, people who are currently active as city managers, to help us interview and ferret out the traits of the individual that we're looking at. One of the great things about this process is you get some of the people who are professionals in that position, who are actively doing the position. They're very good at identifying someone who talks a good game but probably has not a great deal of ability to perform. That will be valuable information as we go forward. We'll ask you to involve, we'll talk with you about other people to involve, citizens groups. The more groups you involve in the process, the more solid the result will be, the broader the acceptance rate of the people who will be there to help make this work well. All these panels do not make any decision. They do not make any recommendations. They don't have enough information to make a recommendation. They will tell you what they saw from their perspective in that set of circumstances and give you the feedback. The council will have all the information, the background checks, the resumes, all of the pieces that we use to winnow the field down. Once you've made a selection, we'll do a complete background check, including visiting the candidate's community, home turf, and see what kind of reputation they have there. The objective of the background, obviously, is there will be no surprises for the council. If this candidate has gotten a speeding ticket in some other town, you will know about it, so that there will not be an opportunity for someone to come to you and say, this candidate was a scofflaw, got speeding tickets. You'll know what any skeletons they may have in the background. We offer to help you negotiate the employment process, design the contract, get the offer of employment underway. Typically, the process will take about 3 months from the time it starts until the selection is made. The fees we charge, typically we will charge $15,000 for the search process, and then add the cost of advertising, which rarely gets up to $1,000, but I put in the contract, in the proposal, $1,500 just to make sure that we would not go over that. But because we've done enough business together, we kind of feel like we're here with a regular client, discounted the fees by 10%, so instead of $15,000, it'd be $13,500 plus the advertising costs. And that completes my part of the presentation. Does anyone have any questions that you'd like to ask?
How soon do you plan on, would you get started, Bill? Just as soon as?
If you have made the approval tonight, we would do our best to get started by at least by the 1st of June.
Okay.
And I realize Gerald is not going to hang around for that full 3 months, but he's got a good ship, and he'll probably go under automatic pilot until the next city manager shows up.
Any other questions for Bill?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. If not, I'll look for a motion to accept a proposal from Mulder & Associates LLC to conduct an executive search for a city manager for Carroll, Iowa.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Thank you. And our third resolution is going to be on the Merchants Park Baseball Stadium lease with Bucko Baseball, doing business as Carroll Merchants. And Jack?
Hi. Yes, thank you, Mayor. Before you tonight is proposal for Donnie Roberts and his organization to have baseball games at the baseball stadium this summer. They played 5 games last year. Well attended, they were fun. I know a lot of people mentioned to me that they enjoyed the baseball and the activities that they had down there. So I would ask Donnie, in my memo you see that I listed the games for you, June through August, and then the agreement with the resolution is attached. So At this point, I guess I'd ask Donnie or the group here.
Good evening. Again, Chris Whitaker, I'm working on this project just as simply as a resident of Carroll. You've seen me here many times with the COG, but again, we started a couple of years ago with the Carroll Athletic Association, an investment drive and with the city's support, doing a substantial construction project at Merchants Park, which is ongoing. And I think this is really one of the next steps, is bringing more activity to the stadium itself. We've always had a first-class baseball field, and now with that construction, we're going to have a first-class stadium. This will really bring, I don't want to say semi-pro, but the next best thing to semi-pro baseball to Carroll with the Carroll Merchants. So we have 13 game nights on the schedule. A couple of those are double headers. To date, we have tentatively 12 of those 13 games sponsored by local businesses. Really is employee benefit nights, employee outings, or customer appreciation nights. Have 23 players from really around the United States and a couple foreign countries placed in host families. Really thanks to some of John Perrin's work and members of the community stepping up to have those players housed here in Carroll and in very, very close proximities. Have about 20 program sponsors as well, and then booster club members that are growing leaps and bounds, I say, by every day, that really are supporting baseball. This is really a fun project. Should bring some economic activity to Carroll, visitors from neighboring cities to the community, and really to enjoy first-class baseball here in Carroll. So with that, thank you for your consideration. If you have any questions, myself, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Donnie can talk a little bit if you have questions about the inner workings of the team itself. But again, thank you for your support past of the stadium and also for Merchants Baseball. So.
Thanks, Chris. Any other questions from the council? Let's see, I think we'll have to do 3 separate motions on this. One, the first resolution we will have to have is for a signed lease agreement with Bucko Baseball, doing business as Carroll Merchants. So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Benami?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Haley?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Motion's approved. I will also need then a separate motion to allow for beer sales at the Merchant Park Baseball Stadium.
I'm going to have an intro of that.
Yeah.
I think they're prepared to do an intro.
Oh, that's fine.
Well, if you
Shannon?
don't need it, we can certainly pass on that. Yes, John Perrin and myself are here. Initially, John and I also kind of took this on as a volunteer project, and, discussion, as was mentioned earlier, there was a very short season last year, and there was a little bit of discussion about some sort of beer sales, and, logistically, by the time we could have put things together, it just didn't seem to make sense. But that's where we felt like the chamber maybe could play a part of it, to benefit the chamber and the season for the Merchants. And we did submit our liquor license. We've got our liquor liability policy lined up, but just thought that we would be here to answer any questions. We feel like we have a great process kind of outlined for how the sales are going to go, who's going to be involved in things. And I guess John typed that up for you guys if you want to take a look at that. What we intend to do is have separate stations for both ID and wristbanding and then distribution of the cans of beer. We worked with Allen Distributing on their recommendations. But also, we plan to only sell 2 per transaction so that individuals can't take a lot. We will have chamber staff, chamber board members, and other volunteers that'll be covering those stations throughout the evening, and then also working at the end of the evening to do our best to make certain anything isn't carried out. Like I said, we're volunteers. We're not going to do bag searches and those such types of things that you'll see elsewhere, but we really do intend to do our best to make sure that everything is done appropriately. I know that there could be question about cleanup of the facility. Aside from the volunteers that are going to be working, the baseball team themselves are responsible for cleaning up the stands after games. So we do intend to leave the facility as it was found. Any types of signage, equipment, things like that for the beer stand will be into a trailer and out between games too. So we don't intend to store anything or leave any permanent signage up with respect to the fact that it is used for high school events as well. So, any questions on that?
So the beer that's not sold, that won't be stored
It'll be-
there?
No, it'll all be
That'll
taken
be
out
taken
between
out.
games.
Okay.
So, you know, we have a trailer that has been purchased to do that, and we do want to respect that it's used for so many different things, and we want to do a good job for the city as well.
All those high school kids down there.
Yeah,
That won't
exactly.
look good. Who did the beer license? Everything was okay with the beer license, David?
Who sells the wristbands then?
Brad?
That's like at the gate and then they,
It'll be a separate station. We've done that at Carol Fest, and it was a recommendation of our auditors for financial purposes, but also just to kind of have a separate level of protection there, and so the volunteers aren't dealing with the IDs and the cash and things like that at the same time in a quick manner and distribution. So there will be a table in close proximity, but not at the same counter as where the beer is
and that's where
distributed.
the ID will be verified.
Yes, ID, wristband, and tickets sold at a separate station.
Any other questions for Shannon? The beer, everything checked out with the license and everything. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Shannon.
All right, thanks, guys.
Then I just need a motion to approve a new Class B liquor license.
Yeah, do the first one first,
Oh, the
allowing for beer.
allow for beer. That's what I was thinking. So I need a motion to allow for beer sales at the Merchant Park Baseball Stadium.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Base?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Pats?
Yes.
Now we can have approval of a new class, need a motion for approval of the new Class B liquor license for 6 months, including wine coolers and outdoor service, Carroll Chamber of Commerce, Merchants Park.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Benami?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Pats?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then we will head back up to the ordinances. And with that, our first ordinance this evening is from Jack with regards to proposed recreation center rates.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Before you tonight is a proposal, and I did add some sheets of paper that you can see that wasn't in the memo. That kind of shows the history of expenses, revenue expenses, and the percentage of the fiscal years. So the first page, I want to see what I'm talking about. I went back to basically the fiscal year 80-81. You've seen these before, they're just updated. Overall, through the history, the revenues against expenses were at about 72%, a little over 72%. So basically, the revenue we collect offsets about 72% of expenses, which is personnel, operating, and capital. So that's that first sheet. And then the second sheet is a breakdown of memberships, daily admission, punch cards, and room rentals. Miscellaneous is lockers, vending machines, towel rentals, odds and ends of merchandise. People forget goggles for the racquetball court. We sell them. We sell towels. So there's just a few things on there we sell. You can kind of see where we ended up. Just breakdown of those areas. And then the last page is the last 6 years of our budget, which is the personnel services. It's more of a detail than the first page. And it shows the deficit each year with that. So my proposal would be approximately, it's not 5% exactly, but real close to keep the dollar amounts at zero. $421 for a family, which is a $20 increase. Single parent, $371, which is $19. Adult, $211. College student, $180. Youth, $146. Senior, $189. And senior couple, $335. And then in previous years, some of you may remember, we had 3-month memberships, 6-month memberships, and a year. People can still do those. It's just, they buy it per month. So that would be, the proposed would go family $47.50, single parent to $45, adult $29, college student $27, youth $21, senior $27, and senior couple $43. And I would entertain any questions.
When you do the monthly, can they still, do they do the ACH, the deduction?
No,
No, they just?
no, they pay
Pay
cash,
cash,
credit
okay.
card, or check. You have to commit to a year in order to do the ACH.
Oh, it's for the year one?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Jack?
And I believe, I'm sorry, I have it downstairs, I didn't bring it up, but I believe last time we raised rates was January of 13. I know it was in January, we tried to get it raised in December, but did I list that back there?
February 13th.
Yes, there we go, okay, so I did have that in the middle, sorry. So, okay,
That's good.
So it's roughly like 5%
yep,
across the board? Okay.
yep.
When will it actually go into place?
What we'd like to do is July 1. What we would do is, the people with ACH payments, we'll send out a little postcard saying your monthly membership will go up to this on January 1. We can get them out, hopefully the next couple days, get them sent out.
I think you used the word January and you meant July.
July, yeah, July 1. Or, yeah, July 1st of this year. Sorry.
Any other questions for Jack? Any comments? Seeing none, I'll need a motion for approval of the attached ordinance for the Carroll Recreation Center membership rates as recommended.
So moved.
Introduction, and then are they gonna waive readings?
Oh, that's right, that's gotta go through 3 readings. So you wanna waive the first, or waive all 3? Because
In order to get a July.
July 1st, we'll have to waive all 3. Well, I could waive the first one.
We wouldn't be able to.
I won't, yeah.
So I need a motion to waive all 3 readings.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Case? Yep.
Thank you. See, we'll,
Come back around to.
no, we gotta do a motion to adopt.
Move to adopt the ordinance. Second.
Got this down here on this one. Got a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Case? Benami?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Motion approved. Thank you. All right, I'm getting back in order here. We will need to go to our fourth resolution is the fiscal year 2015-2016 budget amendment number 2. And Gerald, let's see, it is 550, and we'll open a public hearing.
You have before you the information that Laura shared with you at your last council meeting. There's been no changes except I think one word, one fund wasn't correctly identified, and I'm unable to recall exactly which fund it was. These are all figures that are either what you have approved or directed. So some have been paid, some have not. And we need to have this formalized before June 1, because it has to be done before 30 days before the end of the fiscal year. If there are any questions, I will attempt to answer them, but I think Laura did a pretty good job of explaining them at the last meeting.
I think it had something to do with the airport. Something got switched.
Yeah, we changed one of them. Randy, you remember, don't you?
Yeah, in the middle of the page where it says CP Corridor of Commerce
Yeah.
with a transfer of $415,000. In last meeting, when it was presented, that said CP Airport.
Right.
But it's actually a quarter of
It's actually
commerce.
corridor, yes.
And Randy recognizes that because that's a transfer from his utility fund. Any questions or concerns about it?
If not, I will seek we'll close the public hearing at 5:52.
You
And,
might want to ask if there's anybody in the public that wants to.
oh, okay, well, anybody in the public?
So,
It was pretty quiet back there. I saw some people leave, so I thought everybody's gone. 5:52, we'll close the public hearing. And then we'll look for a motion to accept fiscal year 2015-2016 budget amendment number 2. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Benami?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Cox?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes. Thank you. And our fifth resolution this evening is the 3rd Street Storm Sewer Improvements 2016, and it is 5:52. I will open a public hearing on the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost. And Randy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On May 5th, the plans, specification, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the 3rd Street Storm Sewer Improvements were filed. They were prepared by JEO Consulting Group with Simkin Associates providing or performing the topographic survey. In general, the plans were earlier reviewed by the council, and the decision was made to proceed with what was both of 2 basin improvements. There's an east basin and a west basin, and the plans were developed with both improvements, but they were kept parallel and separate. And the reason that was done was because of the eventual cost of the project, and I'll get into that as we get into cost. But the west basin is called Group A, and that is from US 71 to Adams Street. So actually, it's draining a low point on Adams Street, and that'll flow to US 71 to the drainage outlet there. The Group B East Basin begins at Court Street and flows east, which is actually through, well, over to East Street and then north through the UP Railroad tracks. And at that point, it's tied into the existing system, which was improved 10-plus years ago when we did the deep relief sewer from the wastewater treatment plant. There was a need to improve the storm sewer north of the tracks at that time. So this project will include both underground construction and boring of the railroad tracks in that basin. The specifications are the SUDES standard with supplemental specifications. Former contract is also the SUDES sample that we've used frequently in the past. The estimate of cost. Group A at $1,145,600. Group B at $763,515 for a total estimated cost of $1,909,115. Now that I've broken down by basin, approximated, and actually that exceeds the amount of money we've identified in the budget. That budget funding is identified at $1,570,400. The reason that it's developed parallel for 2 basins and the specifications are structured such that a bidder can bid on one basin, a second basin, or both. And we'll have the flexibility to award one basin, the other basin, or both. So you'll have the opportunity, once the bids are in, to evaluate, to see how you set as far as funding. If, for example, one of the basins is a good price and the other isn't, you could award one and get it done. If they're both excellent pricing, you may want to consider adding funding to it and completing both. So there's a lot of flexibility in the way it's structured for this bidding. We have anticipated bidding well, we'll receive bids on June 7th, and then bring those bids to you for consideration on June 13th. And the expectation was for completion of construction this year, and that also will be reviewed as bids are received. Unless there are any questions, I'd recommend adoption of the resolution, adopting the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the 3rd Street storm sewer.
Is that gonna be enough time for enough bidders? Just like-
It's on the street now.
Okay.
It's been on the street. It'll be a total of, probably between 4 and 5 weeks by then.
Okay.
So, yeah, the hearing is following that.
Is there gonna be a connection at Adams Street between the east and west, or they can be both separate? There
They're
won't
both
be any
separate.
tying together?
No,
Okay.
actually, Main Street is basically a high point. If you look at that watershed, water flows both ways from Main. There's localized low points just a block west of Main and a block east of Main at Adams and Court. And that's where we're beginning this project. And then they'll flow their own directions. So it can really be built separate with no impact on the other.
And this is to deter from that flooding that we had last.
Yeah, it's
Fall.
localized low point flooding on those streets, at those low points primarily. Plus, we get some little localized flooding behind the city maintenance garage. The railroad crossing is behind the city maintenance garage, right directly north of the building. And that's where it currently crosses and where this bore would take place. And then, of course, drainage of the streets. A lot of 3rd Street to the west has no storm sewer, and draining the street, getting the water off the street, protects a little bit more of the longevity of the street itself.
Will this tie up any of the railroad traffic going through? Will they have to change that culvert out at all?
No,
That we don't.
they won't permit that.
They won't.
It's, you just pay a lot
Okay.
to keep train traffic moving.
Very good. We'll keep it where we got it. Any other questions for Randy? If not, I'll look for a motion. Oh, I gotta close it. That's right. It is 5:59. Thank you. Well, let me ask, are there any questions from the public? Better get that in there. If not, it's 5:59. I will close the public hearing. And then look for a motion for passage and approval of the resolution adopting the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the 3rd Street Storm Sewer Improvements 2016 project.
So, second.
Got a motion and a second. Haley?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Space? Yes. Cox?
Yes.
Tamami?
Yes.
Motion approved, thank you. The 6th resolution is in regards to the water meter reading contract. And Darrell?
Yes.
You can do that one? Okay.
We are under contract with Leon Hendricks to read meters for us. He's done an excellent job for, can't remember exactly how many years, but it's been more than a decade. I don't think Laura read. 15? Okay. Well, and Deb works directly with him, so he's very good at what he does, but we're at a point now where we're starting to see the tipping point among the remote reads and the walking reads. So we're asking to just extend it 1 year, and then a decision can be made again at the end of next year as to whether you want to extend it again. Mr. Hendricks was reasonable in his request. I think he's asking for if I remember correctly, a 5-cent increase, which would be a total cost, I think, our estimates of $288, if I remember correctly. So it's a half-cent, yeah.
Increase, yeah.
And he was a low bidder to start with, and he still is very economical for us to use him as a walking reader. Now, you need to be aware that when and if you make that decision, as we're replacing meters, that sometime in the future we will, that downhill stretch. Now, we're paying for all the meters, even though he doesn't read them. He carries a device that reads them as he travels. And this is part of the offset. And they have a good reader, you allow them to have some opportunities toward the end of their reading contract. But when we make the switch over, whatever we have left will have to be read by staff. And I think Randy is ready to take volunteers from the elected body.
See, we got 6 council people, so every other month.
I will not be.
No. Oh. Dave, you ever read meters? No. How many meters? How many meters are left to change? Do you remember, Randy?
Yeah, approximately. There's about 4,800 total, and there were approximately 30% changed at this point, so the balance, 2/3 are left to do.
How many, how many they get in a year?
Well, they've done a lot this year to get to 30%. We projected a
Well, it was just in 1 year.
Yeah, we
Okay.
projected a 5-year change out.
I remember when we talked
We're a
about
third done already. Of course, well, there'll be a lot of progress within the next year or so, and then it will taper off. Then it's nighttime work, knocking on doors multiple times to get a completion of it. But so far, people have really responded well to just an initial contact and a phone call. So it's worked out pretty well so far.
And this is the result of the added person in the water department to do change out of meters. This is a resolution, so it will require a passage of a resolution for the meter reading contract.
Any other questions for Randy or Gerald?
I'd move that we approve the amended water meter reading contract with Leon Hendricks, increasing payment from $0.365 per meter to $0.37 per meter to be effective for fiscal year 16-17.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Haley?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Space? Maloney?
Yes.
Bleshner?
Yes.
Motion's approved, thank you. Our 7th resolution is a professional services Greenland Carroll Trails Plan. Is that right? No, professional services agreement, Carroll Trails Plan, segments A and B, and Main Street Connection, 2016, and Jack.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you is proposal from Shad Hattery. We've worked with them over the last several years with the original Trails Master Plan. They've updated it. We went back and did some updates. We condensed it and reduced that large scope that we originally had in 2007, 2008. And then the council had asked a couple years ago on the northeast side of Carroll to try to connect some trails to schools, parks, and the neighborhoods. We've had discussions with Shad Hattery, Craig Erickson, and his crew, or his group, have been up here talking about that northeast trail. And then there was discussion that you'd like to see a proposal on segments A and B. And in your packet is a map of sections A and B on that plan. There will need to be discussions with some of the landowners to make sure we can get the right-of-ways in that area to acquire and be able to put the trail in. There is one section we are having, we've had information that we probably need to purchase most of that land, all that land that they own, in order to get a small portion of the trail. So there'll need to be more discussions at that point. But this is something that you did ask for. The full agreement is attached. The breakdown on the cost for segment A for design construction documents, $36,100, bid phase, $3,000, construction phase, $38,000, for a total construction price of $77,000. Segment B, and segment A is 0.6 miles. Segment B is 0.5 miles. And again, that's broke down, design, construction documents, $30,000, bid phase, $3,000, construction phase, $30,000. It should say estimate total for segment B of $63,000. And if they're completed separately, the price was $144,000 estimated total. And if they're done as one project, there would be a savings of approximately $18,000 for $126,000. And then separate to that is the Main Street connection of them really doing the research and figuring out if we go to design what the best way to connect either up Main Street or that other area that was discussed west of Main Street, and then bring them up one of the side streets east to that downtown area.
Hey Jack, the landowner that you mentioned that will probably end up having to buy some land, how much of that segment B does that affect?
That would be northeast part, that's about 6/10 of an acre. And then, that'd be this part right here. And then we own all the park, obviously. Swan House had initial conversations with them, and they were excited about the project. But this section right here would all be the same landowner to that point. And that, we're estimating about a full acre of land is what we would need in that section B, segment B.
Jack, would you walk us through, I was looking at the 2014 Trails Plan, and the segment that is causing the trouble, or the land that we've had problems with, in the 14 Trails study, it says this is located in segment C.
Okay.
When I looked at all the maps I have of A, B, C, and D, they all look the same.
Okay.
Has the route changed?
No,
Or,
not that I.
because this
That might have been.
mentions, yeah, segment C trail continues south on the property of Swanee Propco before heading east, and names the property owner.
Okay.
So that is in C.
Okay.
So,
Swan House, yeah, that's
yeah,
C. And then,
so A and B segments, do we have any problems
what?
with,
I
okay,
think there was a crossing.
Northeast part.
okay,
There's a
just
little
one.
piece that is farm there. We could get the trail to that point.
Okay, another question, would you refresh my memory, how much is on-road, off-road in
This would
these
be-
two segments?
You cross East 18th Street there, all off-road.
It's all off-road.
Yeah, that
For-
would be our intentions, is to have everything off-road.
You're talking
On
about section.
A
A and B.
and B,
Yeah.
all off-road.
That is, the intentions would be everything.
But let's make sure we understand what off-road means. Does it mean completely out of the right-of-way or simply off of the roadway?
Off the roadway. There would
But
be a
it doesn't
separate-
mean that it's necessarily adjacent off of the right-of-way.
My feeling is you wouldn't have the street concrete for the trail. There'd be a buffer or separation.
It's not like what they have going on Grant Road.
That,
You know,
that's what I call adjacent to the road.
Yeah, it's adjacent to the road, but you're off the right of way there.
Yeah.
They have that's limited.
Yeah, that's one of the.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
we-
our intentions at this point, at least, the way I've always addressed that, is it can be separated. You have your street, you'd have a buffer area.
Like a grass strip in
grass
between
area, and
the
then
two.
trail.
Okay.
Yep. You cross the church here, I have made contact with them, they have a board meeting like June 16th, I'm gonna attend that, talk to them. We have the right of way here. This house here has built a fence right up to the lot line. Eyeballing it, there might be a chance that we can get it through there. So this will be something in the design phase that will need to be talked about if we bring it back over, and then completely avoid that little area there. That's what, we'll have to look through in that design phase. And then, I've talked with them, I've talked with the landowner here, and then this section right here, and right here is a concern. You don't wanna go down on, I wouldn't say going on the residence area there, you'd wanna stay off road, or off their area.
So the fence you mentioned, we already know that they have that in their own property.
Yep.
They're fine.
Yep, yep.
And it's only one landowner in A and B total that we would deal with, correct?
Oh, no.
To purchase
B and C.
B and C, yeah, this section,
in A and B.
yep. Do you have
B and
schools?
C, Carol.
Schools, I've had a conversation.
No, I'm
with-
asking, how many landowners do we need to deal with to acquire property in A and B? You mentioned just one, did I hear that right?
One that would require us to purchase their entire property, and the other ones have said, you know, come talk to me when you're further along. They have interest, that they've made positive comments about trails.
Okay, I had a question posed to me, and maybe others in the audience have had a lot of questions about the trails. Are we smart to enter into, this is a costly amount.
Yep.
Are we smart to enter into this contract if we're going to have problems
Sure.
down the road? And should we be thinking of something else?
Something else in a different area?
As in, yes. I don't have any answers. I just field a lot of questions from people whose opinions I respect.
Right.
And that's what I'm wondering about. We have these hurdles. You do A and B, and then, what are we looking at for C? That could be a lengthy process.
Yep.
And maybe a process we don't want to get involved in
Okay.
with eminent domain or something like that. So, I don't know. Any of you here that have talked to me?
Well, there's just that
Questions?
small section in segment B,
Yep,
and most of C is the same landowner.
yep,
And that's what we'd have to deal with.
yep,
And it's all that land sitting right there that
yep.
somebody they'll sell it.
Yeah.
Why don't we walk through this, Jack, just to make sure that everyone is hearing the same thing. When you look at the top of the map where it says Carroll Independent School District with the green to the left,
Yep.
that's where the proposed trail is. Actually, wouldn't it be go down and be connected to the park? Wasn't that what we initially had talked about?
Yeah, there would be.
So it would be further north, wouldn't it, in that
Yes.
green line?
Yeah, it needs to come up closer to the park.
That property along there is either in city right-of-way, or we have friendly people that we've conversed with. Doesn't mean we have any agreements in place, doesn't mean that people can change their minds. The school district has indicated that they would be friendly to us, but we haven't entered into an agreement. Then that moves around as it angles around, goes around the school, and comes over to St. John Church. That's all school property, including the piece that comes down to 18th Street, right?
Yep.
That's all school. Again, we don't have any permission, we just have friendly discussion. There's been no agreement with the church, but Jack will be discussing with them. We haven't eased rights when the land adjacent to, looks like row crop in there, going eastward, right on the map, that we have an easement right there. And then we can gain easement right, I think, for the balance from New Hope Village to go there. Then the little L shape that comes down, that would be crossing our roadway. And I believe we have a piece there, or we can get access there. If I remember correctly, Randy, there's a wide trail on the north side of Carroll Assisted Living, right?
Yep. I think it's 8 foot.
4 or 5 feet, something like that.
8. Yeah.
That was
It might be
placed
8.
with the project, as I recall.
It's 8 foot.
That little green L is yet to be determined. I think we can probably acquiesce that, but we don't have anything in place. Then all of the pink going down to right directly left of segment B, we have had discussions with Carroll Assisted Living and the current owner or owners of the property that moves you down to where the housing area is at. We have not negotiated anything between houses, but we've had discussions, right? Then when you go across the appendage piece there, this property owner has indicated that they are not interested in selling a piece of their property. Then you get into the park and you can go all the way to 12th Street because we own that. You can put it on the city's property. Then you would have access to 12th Street. Beyond that, Swan House has indicated positively that they would work with us. But then we have to figure out, are you going to come between houses to come out to 11th Street, or are you going to continue to the east and connect maybe at, what is that street, Bella Vista? Because at this point, we've had some serious challenges along Griffith Road. And I would tell you, as I tell anybody that's willing to listen, developing within creating a trail within a developed area is extremely challenging. And in some cases can be very expensive or nearly impossible. Now, if you're willing to do condemnation, you're willing to say we'll buy whatever we need, you can go almost anywhere. We have been informed, not formally, but informally, that condemnation for trails is something that could be looked at and probably could be imposed. But that's not, I can't affirm that. I've only had a conversation with our bond counsel to talk about that. So that gives you some idea of some of the challenges along this route. I'm not saying you shouldn't do this. I'm saying this is really quite a challenge.
Even if you do all of segment A and bring segment B down to that little sliver, how do you get access to the north end of that little sliver there by Mockingbird Drive? I guess you could take it to Mockingbird Drive. People could certainly get on there with the idea that when that property becomes available there in Northeast Park, then take it across. You could certainly put a trailhead there at the end of Mockingbird Drive for, you know, if you did it in one section. Because that sounds like that is the most reasonable and probably easier to start with.
Yeah.
And I think there's differing perspectives from people that I've spoken with about what they want in a trail. Some are bikers, some are walkers, some are runners, some are pull a waggy behind. There's quite a little difference between all of those different desires. None of them are any more than others, but we have a biker that works for the city, and he's indicated that he would not be interested in where you have to stop at every block with a bicycle. So very likely you won't have a lot of bicycle traffic on this particular trail. Maybe the north piece, the green piece. And for the biking enthusiasts, maybe we need to share a sheet with them so they can see what we're talking about.
Can I address the council?
Yes, that's fine.
Mayor? Russ Reich is my name.
Come on up, Russ. You can
Okay.
come up to the podium, please. Sorry.
All right, sure. I'm the treasurer for the Sauk Rail Trail Association, which really has nothing to do with this. It has to do with the Sauk Rail Trail that runs around Swan Lake and up to Lakeview, et cetera. Anyway, I've looked at this a couple of years ago when Shai first proposed this, or 3 years ago, whatever it was. Wasn't really concerned about Section A or Section B or whatever. As far as the Sauk Rail Trail representative, we were more concerned about attaching the Sauk Rail Trail to the city of Carroll, getting that brought in. I mean, it is, but it isn't brought into the downtown area. And so our concerns mostly are bringing with the Sauk Rail Trail in. At the last discussion we had here, with the city council had here, I think the discussion was about bringing the trail in and potential other ways bringing it in other than on Main Street. Then also, I thought it was mentioned anyway of connecting the schools, Fairview Elementary School, middle school, and high school together. And I thought that the council had given direction to potentially take a look at that. And that's kind of how it went. And so anyway, Carolyn let us know, a few of the Sauk Rail Trail people, myself and Frank Gredham and Von Kettleson here know about this. So I didn't have a chance to look at this till today. But anyway, I looked at segment A and segment B and some of the problems associated with it. Then I looked at the whole route around it and said, if you get it all done down to section D, it drops you down to Highway 30, which, as a bicyclist or a walker or a wagon puller or a what have you, what you gonna do when you get down to Highway 30? Well, then there's a kind of an Orden section over there. Looks like it goes by on where KCIM is. What is that road that? It's a kind of a frontage road.
Bella Vista.
Bella Vista.
And that's section E.
So in order to get back up over to what you're trying to get to, the Aquatic Center and Carroll Athletic Fields, you'd have to take streets, from what it looks like, these streets are off-road, around there, back up and over on Woodland Drive, and then split off from there. It's quite a lot to, this contract asks for $130,000 to get segment A and B done just for the design and the overseeing of the contract work. And I would guesstimate you probably have another $130,000 or so wrapped up to get section C and section D done. That's a lot of cost, about $260,000 in engineering, et cetera.
And right now, the way it stands, they'd have to be land acquisition on our part.
Yeah.
Either condemning or buying it. Not a big favor of condemning, but.
It's a hard guess to do it, and Gerald, you're right, as a bicyclist, if you gotta stop at every intersection for biking, if you gotta pull up and you gotta basically stop and then go again, that's not a trail, that's a sidewalk. That's over with, which is okay, but as a
Only thing I would say to that is, this is a section of the overall master plan. The overall master plan does have it looped around the entire city, but the council wanted to get started somewhere, and we decided this, tied in the schools, the residential area, there'd be a lot of use in this section. This is where we started.
Sure. I looked at it and said, well, why wouldn't you come down like, instead of doing this, why wouldn't you come down and hydrate? It does say it on the map, your potential on-street route. It doesn't dump you in the middle of actually going down to Highway 30 dumps you pretty well in the middle of where you got to go up and around again. And I don't know, I'm not on a trails committee or anything else, I just looked at this and I don't know what potential is for High Ridge. I don't know. I am not fully prepared to espouse on that, but I just had some questions here of dumping it back down and then going on city streets. Why not do it all the way up there in Section A and take a look at getting it done to the Sauk Trail downtown and potentially, I don't know, the thoughts on going from the school, the middle school and the high school, from Fairview to middle school and high school, and taking another look at this as far as doing your segments. So that's all I had to say.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess when I look at it, the B and C, that with the land acquisition, that's what makes it really hard, unless you're, like I say, you bring green and you bring the green on board and take section B down as far as you can to Mockingbird Drive. It doesn't do you a whole lot of good, because then you're stuck there.
There are grant opportunities out there for land acquisition, the REAP grant, know that, but.
I think they wanted all that, 40-plus acres purchased.
Yeah.
Which could go a long ways for housing. But
I'll tell you, living up in that neighborhood on Oak Wood, segment A would be a huge plus for the neighborhood there. B, I'm not so sure, especially if we stopped at Short or even just did it all the way down to 12th Street. I don't know how much activity we would be gaining there. I don't know if
Would
this
it be
is worth
good to
$1
bring it to the park? One of the major goal of this study was to connect recreation areas, schools, et cetera, and to pull those areas together. And as I said, I don't have the answers, but before we enter into this, do we see that this will work, A and B, and then maybe down the road we hold off on C and D and maybe rethink things? A lot has changed since we started with Shive Hattery 10 years ago too. And now we're thinking about the revitalization of the Graham Park area, where we have the merchants going on, where we have potentially not our project, but the football project. So that part of, that's becoming the heart of our recreation area, and schools are important, recreation areas are important. I don't know, Mike, what about the trail on the east of Northeast Park, taking people? I mean, we own the land, that would be easy. People like to go to parks, hang out, walkers, joggers, bikers, whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking we need to rethink. I always did think from the get-go that C&D just were taking us into never land and away from the goals of the study.
D does, D taking us out there, I think. I'd almost rather do a portion of segment C and then go right to segment E where you're coming right straight down Bella Vista.
We could do that. Yeah, what I was thinking is C starts us on a road east, away from everything versus the connectivity.
Well, and I wonder, because with High Ridge, with the project we're doing on the road there this year, we're getting continuity of sidewalk there. Which almost negates the reason it would be, and it is a lot of money for something that may or may not get used, whereas if we tie A in, get that continuity sidewalks on High Ridge, we can always kick something off either on 12th or on Capistrano to tie in the park.
Yeah, maybe 12th, I don't know.
Personally, as much as 12th is traveled, a lot of activity up around there, people walking at the pool and things like that.
Right.
That would be my favorite approach.
I think it's appropriate to indicate that this plan has been adopted by prior councils, and that's the reason you see this brought back, because this is your plan. If you want it to be something different, you need to change it.
Right. Well, the context has changed, as I mentioned, with the football stadium, the Grand Park revitalization.
Well, I don't think they knew 10 years ago we were going to do High Ridge Road, such an extensive revision of that street and the sidewalks. Nobody knew that back then either. Right.
But if we're good with A and B and spending the money, we can say this is where we want to be at this point in time and revisit what we want to do next. See what else happens.
That's what's proposed here, is it not? Is
A and B.
A and B, right. And then there were three ideas they're going to present with the costs on the Main Street connection, which integrated some ideas.
Jack, what about the tying it in from the Sauk Trail and bringing that up 2nd Street or 3rd Street? Was there anything more looked at that?
We looked at, and I'm sorry, I'm bad at some of the street names. I know Randy can help me. But we have a discussion, and there seems to be a route west of the Main Street Trail to bring it up into some residential area and then bring it back over. What's the far street?
Whitney.
Come up Whitney on the west side.
Okay.
There's a lot of open area. The next street on Whitney, there's a few trees. I believe, is that where the house is? That we would go on private. There need to be some discussion on a house there that comes up adjacent to the 3rd Street Park.
Yeah, your best direction on the Whitney would be on the east side of the street all the way up to 3rd Street, because you're going to run into troubles on the west side.
On the west side, yeah.
Right.
But there is one owner that has 4 great big trees right on the trail path.
Correct.
On the east side.
Yeah.
On the east side. But you would be able to come up the west side, because there's a house that once you get over the hill, there's a house and driveway that's sitting right on top of everything. You couldn't go past this place. But the east side has plenty of room. Or between the sidewalk and the street, they absolutely put a trail off.
And I think there's a few trees on 3rd Street or 2nd Street, or whichever
On the
route you want to go.
south side, if you stay on the south side.
Yeah, stay on the south side.
Shive Hattery lists the 3 alternates they plan to present and give a cost for on page 2 of the contract, number 5, and then it continues on page 3. Did you guys look that over? The alternates for the Main Street connection, number 5, page 2 of the
Yeah, that's a
contract.
40.
Is- You were the ones who, somebody brought up the,
That's a $4,800 fee for developing the other main.
Right.
Well, it's still called Main Street Connection.
correct,
Because
yeah.
potentially we either connect to Main Street or Carroll Street, coming up potentially from Whitney.
Yeah, they have 3 ideas
That's
here.
pretty reasonable to get another idea of it, I would think. That'd be $4,800. I guess our point was is if you get section A and section B done, going back to that, and it drops in the middle of nowhere, what are you gonna do with that? Yeah, unless you get section C and D done, which drops you down Highway 30.
So you're,
We'd have to, I think we as a group are gonna have to change what we're looking at here on this master plan before
And-
anything.
And maybe revisit it with Shive Hattery, maybe when they come back, if we decide to approve this contract, maybe revisit with them.
what would be the thought of modifying segment B, bringing that down to Mockingbird? And then from Mockingbird South, adding that into segment C, because if we decided to move forward with C, it's gonna be that whole land acquisition. That would entail both those pieces.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, because my fear is, because if we do all of segment B, that's going to prompt us into land acquisition, correct?
Correct. Because it's that little sliver just north of Northeast Park, there's like,
Yeah. Whereas if you brought it down to
30 yards.
Mockingbird and you put a trailhead there, it's an easy enough way to get up there, get you all the way up north. It doesn't tie into the park yet, but at least it gets us close enough that if we would decide to include that into Trail C and then move forward with it, then we'd buy land, do whatever, condemn it, whatever we need to, and then do that all as one segment at that point. But it'd be the least expensive, it'd get us the furthest down the road, and it would definitely get us started in the right direction.
So stop B at Mockingbird and not go down to, you don't want to take it to the park?
I'd love to take it to the park, but if we have to buy 40 acres of land for a block's worth of property.
there's that little sliver on the
Yeah,
northeast.
I know, but
Yeah,
40 acres.
Yeah, see, he won't, we can't just buy that sliver, we had to purchase
Okay.
all of it.
you know, and then, as you mentioned too, because I was thinking too, potential future housing stuff, but I mean, that's a decision for another day, but if we
Right.
got it down there as far as Mockingbird, it wouldn't be hard to tie Mockingbird into, you know, the rest of that segment on the way down.
You could almost go with section A being the current green and continuation south
To Mockingbird.
to Mockingbird and just call that section A and see what that would
Yeah.
do for us as far as cost. I mean, you know, everybody's in agreement with that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why would you not just come down High Ridge from the green and then shoot off to Northeast Park and then shoot off to the stadiums and as you come down, or you can't come down High Ridge?
I think that has, I don't know if there's enough width there. I mean, we have sidewalk width, but trail width of 8 to 10 feet is, I think, where we're going to run into problems. I think that the High Ridge is going to be able to tie in your walkers, but your bikers would be a little, you know, it's just like what you were saying earlier, is stopping every block. That doesn't do good for you guys. But just go 2 more blocks to the east, you can tie into the trail down Mockingbird, and you're there. It gets the neighborhood going, and then we can look at, you know, tying in other neighborhoods to that then too.
Well, based on your conversation, would you like to have staff bring you back a proposal as from what we've heard you say? And then you can tweak that or say no. You can go to your planning session in the fall, or you can go to a whole new concept, which is scrap all this and start over. I want to reiterate, when you go through a populated area, it's extremely challenging and expensive.
I think that A is a critical portion that we've needed for years, just without, especially the Fairview School there. I mean, there's so much traffic up there and such. You know, A is something that's would be very beneficial to the city. B, if we brought down the Mockingbird as a step into this plan, if we omitted the B segment, you know, and open it up to future discussion, that's another option, but. I'm
It
not-
certainly would take, not you type of bikers, but the family bikers that are taking their little kids off the streets to do A. And what you're thinking about going down to Mockingbird, so.
I mean, I see there's probably 5 different sets of couples and families that walk partner every night down our street, down Oakwood. And by tying it in at their Mockingbird gives them another option of traffic-free travel, you know. And I think it'd be used quite a bit.
Starting at 4 o'clock till sometimes the sun goes down. Grant Road is full all the way around.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
All the way around the
And it
golf
would-
course.
It would pull a little bit of walking traffic off of that.
I think you would. You'd
And it'd be
get some of
safer.
these, exactly.
What we did with Grant Road years ago was a great idea.
Mhm.
But this, I mean, I feel comfortable being on there myself, but, because if you remember, people were out there with nothing, walking
Right,
along Grant
walking
Road.
just- and they're walking on the gravel.
This takes them
Yeah.
completely off the street, and that Grant Road traffic would be decreased.
Right.
The pedestrian traffic certainly would.
If we really wanted to get people to the park, I know you said just to go to Mockingbird, but if we really did want to get the trailhead to the park, what has to happen with the next step to get that sliver of land?
Condemnation,
And who does that involve?
that would start with us.
Us.
David, you probably.
It's a legal
It's
process.
Legal
Right.
process. Or an outright purchase, and Gerald can probably reiterate the message that he got. Apparently the landowner.
We checked, Jack and I did, and sent an email and said, is your position the same? And we got a return email and said, yes, our position is the same, which is we don't wish to sell a portion.
They wanted to sell all the acres out there.
Right.
So because of
Oh,
that
yeah, I know.
little piece.
The 50 yards. That's all we need to go across.
What would you
there.
like us to do? Anything?
I guess I'd like a little clarification, please, Carolyn, perhaps you can help, and maybe the folks here. Am I hearing that there is a group of the population that's asking for this particular trail plan to be scrapped?
No, they're just asking questions. The question was, if it's expensive to do A and B, if you can't get the land, then we've contracted for a sizable amount of money, and we haven't gotten anywhere.
Yeah, if you
That was the question.
I just
That
want to
they-
make sure I
yeah.
understand
No,
properly. I'm not,
no. We're all here to try and get something done. Trails are popular.
But
And as much off-road, I think, as possible also. Excuse me, go
A
ahead.
and B getting to the park is or is not feasible in the minds of the folks who are hearing from then, or, perhaps as you gentlemen had recommended, maybe we need to look at going down one of the streets like High Ridge or something in that order. I just want to make sure I understand properly what was being conveyed, and right now I'm a little confused. I see A and B as getting us from park to park, if you will, taking us from Veterans Park on the south end of Collison Addition down to Northeast Park. And I guess I'm having trouble because that looks like a pretty good connection and a pretty good little segment there to get schools and parks tied together. But I can understand where you're coming from then. It's a continuation on
Right,
south of there that's the
that
issue.
was
Is
the
that right?
concern.
Well, we just don't
That
wanna
was
get
their
there and
concern.
stop.
Yeah.
It's a trail to nowhere.
But we want to get to the parks.
And then,
I think that's important.
So the question is not getting to the park, it's where do we go after that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Where's section C and section D leading to, down Highway 30? Then what do you do?
Right, but just to clarify, tonight we're talking about section A and B, correct?
Correct.
That's what's in the proposal.
Yeah.
And maybe we can find some way to move on from section B later on. Maybe it doesn't follow what we've got today for CD, but perhaps we can figure something else out from there, but.
We're fine with, seriously, we're fine with everything, we just don't want to get there and then not even be able to get to the park.
Well, we appreciate you gentlemen taking the time to come out tonight and help us too.
And that's all we want to get to the parks, we want to see a trail system in Carroll, we need a trail system in Carroll. We also need to somehow connect the Sauk Rail Trail to Carroll, downtown Carroll too, but, that's all really important, I think.
Sure, and we've got that in front of us tonight to get A, B, and the Sauk Rail Trail looked at so that we can potentially make things happen now. I think Councilwoman Bass is bringing up a good point. We do have direction forward with our 50-yard sliver of land north of the park. It's not one that I don't think any one of us wants to go down of condemning the property, but
Correct.
it would be greatly appreciated if we could find some way around or through this to get just across so we can get to the park, to Northeast Park.
And that will probably come with time.
Well, the thing about it, Mockingbird is a pretty slow traveled street.
Correct.
And if somebody had to go basically a block and a half, 2 blocks over to High Ridge and then down to Capistrano to the park. I think you guys had mentioned one time when we were talking the trailhead, when you go 2-3 blocks when you're biking, that's what you're out there for. So that is a way to get there, and it's tying it in very closely, and it's probably the least expensive and least intrusive way to do it.
Jack, would the feasibility of that type of an alternate fit into what we have in front of us tonight?
I guess I'm not sure.
If we wanted to understand we're looking at approving
Yeah.
a package tonight, looking at Section A, Section B,
Yep.
and then the stem up into the downtown area.
Yep.
Would what we're looking at approving tonight allow us the flexibility to analyze going to Mockingbird, terminating, and then coming around to Northeast Park via the streets? I just don't see a lot of issue there.
I would think so, but at this point, if I make some suggestions, is everyone seems like they're interested in the Main Street connection at $4,800. Approve that tonight. Let's move on that. Give them direction to start working on that. We'll figure out west side, east side. We'll talk to the people down there and try to get that done. Segment A, I heard some ideas tonight. Maybe segment A is where it is currently, and you do take it up north to the schools, the soccer fields, the baseball fields, connected that far. My one question with these guys, and Randy, they travel into these towns. Do you see trails next to golf courses like you would here? If we brought it up the west side to the schools and the golf course, you have a tee box 20 yards from a trail. Do you see that when you?
Spirit Lake.
Spirit Lake's that way?
I ride
So that
by
kind of-
them really fast.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Yeah, they're teeing off the same direction I'm going,
Yeah,
and sometimes into it. Yeah,
Well-
yeah.
We got sidewalks there now.
Yeah, up higher. This would probably be down more into the golf course somehow. I'm not an engineer. I'm not even gonna start saying how it's gonna be designed or put in there. But is that an interest of the golf course? You have both schools. You come across
Yeah.
Highway 30, come down school section, the R section, and then you stop there.
We bike quite a bit as far as biking by the golf course
Okay.
right now, and it's a fairly wide sidewalk. I don't know if it's your normal width or not, but we bike it quite a bit, and I don't know if the sidewalk could be transferred over to be a wider trail or not. You'd have to look at that. I know that it does dump you off once you get down to those apartments north of 18th Street, dumps you off in the curbs there.
Right.
Okay, and I've always wondered why the city had almost seemingly a trail there, dumps you in the curbs. And if you come off it or want to continue on, you gotta go up and down, not graduated curbs, but curbs.
Well, this would potentially be going up past the school. You have that little farmed area up to Veterans Park. And at that point, you have residential areas again, but you're gonna have to cross the street somewhere. That's a pretty wide open area. Maybe you cross over onto the golf course and then go up the golf course past the schools. Yeah, 8 o'clock in the morning and 3:30, there's a lot of traffic. School nights, there's events. You're gonna always run into those, well, what if you have these things? We just have to accept that there will be some risks and there'll be high traffic times. Bring it up, cross 30th Street and then down to the.
Don't put more trees or bushes over there so they don't go that way.
30th Street.
If you could connect like exactly what you're saying, the baseball fields up there over to North Grand Road coming down and get down to Fairview and connect your schools all together, that'd be a major, it'd be really nice. It'd be a major move to do that and to do the Sauk Trail into Carroll somehow. If you could focus efforts on that, as far as the A and B would be a great idea. But it seems expensive unless you know exactly what you're gonna do as far as purchasing that ground. I don't know if the city wants to own 40 acres of ground.
No.
And then secondly is then you almost gotta get to a master plan to get that A, B, C, and D done. And I know it attaches to Section E, which is the Bella Vista Drive. Okay, is that on the street, Section E, or what's that proposed to do, do you know? I'm just talking about the whole master plan.
Section E going down Bella Vista? Is that, I thought that was off street.
We went down that road once.
Twice. Fire station down
Yeah, we've been down that road, Randy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Initially, when we established that, the developer offered resistance. We were gonna do two sides, we ended up with one side sidewalk.
there. Yeah, there's sidewalk there.
That's what I'm saying, when you go through populated areas, the resistance is huge and the cost is huge.
When did
we develop this master plan? Is this 2007? Was that?
Oh, six.
Six.
And how much have we done since we developed this plan? Of the. Okay.
Zero.
And so in 8 years, and we have a plan to go, it's probably what, 10 miles, probably around the city, all of the thing and everything?
West and south.
And we've spent 4 months in a complete debacle over 6/10 of a mile in this segment A. I think, if it's been 10 years and we've got nothing done, what's another 6 months of redoing an entire master plan? I mean, obviously, that's what I think everybody's kind of going towards right now. I mean, but we get, with the emphasis that we got to get on it, but if we're just going to piecemeal things all over the place, I just don't see that we're going to get anything accomplished. And if we do, we're going to keep arguing about it with no master plan to do it.
Well, I agree that I think we need to relook at it. I would be inclined to move forward tonight with segment A and Main Street. And then the rest of it, we can move the kind of stuff
We did
in.
several times.
Segment A is, like I said, living here for 9 years, you would not believe how critical that is for that area. If the elementary school wasn't there, it wouldn't be so bad, but there's no sidewalks on either side of 18th.
You're saying even if it were never connected to anything in the future, it's still of value?
Oh, yeah, I think so,
Segment
just
A,
because of
yeah.
the children
Very much so.
walking along 18th Street and such, to get, tie into that area, I think it's critical.
And once you get the sidewalk down High Ridge, all those kids can walk if they want to also. And they can walk right into that, across the street, 18th Street, right to the trail. Yeah, that's fine.
I agree.
What if the master plan, though, wouldn't have Section A where Section A is? What if they plopped it somewhere else behind the school, or, just my thought, if you're gonna do something new and take time to do it, start and do it all, get it all done, and then pick a piece and go.
We do have, this is just a small portion of the master plan. This is just the northeast. So the original master plan shows us doing what Jack suggested.
That might be in the next room.
Yeah,
See if I can
but,
grab it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to look at it?
Well, I
Jack?
pass around, I have a big board of it
Okay,
somewhere,
yeah.
might be next door.
Okay, but yeah, this is just a small part of the master plan we're looking at. This isn't the whole master plan, so.
I guess again, my suggestion would be is to move forward with Main Street and table A and B right now. If there's really an interest in bringing it out to the baseball fields, we need to recalculate that, we need to relook.
I mean, I'm certainly open to a workshop on A and B, maybe some evening, then we can rehash out and get a better master plan of this area. I mean, I'd be open for that, just to get it, tie it in,
If
get
I,
it moving, because it's, you know, Brandon made a good point, that we've been spinning our wheels for 10 years, and nothing.
I might have misunderstood this, but does not segment A taking us to its north end, doesn't that then connect us to the current trail system that runs alongside the
You'd have to cross the
road?
street.
You have to cross the
Yeah.
street, then
Yeah.
run up there. That's
Yeah.
still what you're supposing, right, Jack? We're crossing the street one way or the other.
Yeah, you're gonna cross the street, I
Then
would
we
guess.
follow north, we could go along the south side of the soccer fields and the ball fields.
And you
we're
have
there,
ball
right?
fields, I think that's 8 foot, but.
But what if you didn't?
That
What if
is
the new
a
master
part
plan took it back up behind Collison and then crossed the highway going over to the middle school, between the middle school, high school? I mean, you may not have to get on by the golf course. You may not have to worry about getting hit by golf balls. I mean, there could be just a whole nother, it just seems like we haven't gotten anywhere.
Part of the plan, though, is to tie travel for children to the school. That was part of the plan. Whereas if
Sure.
you went straight up Collison, you would bypass the school.
No, I'm just, you could come here, but it could jet back in here, and then it could go back up behind. You could get to Veterans Park, then you go back up behind Collison to the highway and back across. It just seems like maybe we just don't have the best plan if we haven't made a decision and really bid on something. Everybody's not in consensus, so it's just not the right plan, it seems like.
What do you want us to do?
I would be in favor of a work session. Also, I'd be in favor, if we were going to move forward, I do agree with Mike, that if we're gonna move forward and there's a piece to get done, that would be a piece to get done, if that's in the budget, and if that's
And
if
with
that's
that,
what we wanna do.
and with that, thinking that probably is not gonna change the new developed plan anyway.
No.
If you did segment A only, you'd be fine.
And the Main Street connector,
Yeah.
let's do those.
That's what we need to
Let's
do.
do those.
The work
Let's do
session
that.
would be to decide if we were interested in going slightly bigger than than the current A.
No, not necessarily. I think it'd be, do we need to look at the whole plan and see how it's laid out? And
I
what is
would-
our goal? What do we?
Right, I
I
think
would
we
be
need
in
to
favor of
revisit the
that.
whole thing, too.
Mhm.
I don't foresee A changing.
Probably.
I don't either.
And it's needed. It's really needed. And then the connector, if we could just go ahead, contract for that, have a I think all the ideas, we can integrate them and.
I don't see a reason to make a motion on A or anything right now until we have this work session, though. But I do think we maybe could at least do the Main Street this evening.
I am ready to move forward with A myself.
Me
With
too.
A?
Yes.
I am, I'm comfortable with A and the Main Street
Okay.
piece.
I feel the motion coming
If
on.
it's not going to change, but we're tweaking the rest, we might as well get moving.
Are you gonna keep A existing on how it's greened out in this map?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So that's, okay.
Right.
Because I think, Misty, I think you're right. I think when we get to that point, that's the north end of A, where it's up to Veterans Park, it could go across the street, or you're right, it could come back and, follow the backside. But either way, I think segment A is pretty good stuff. I think we could move forward with A, and you do feel emotion coming, Mr. Mayor.
Clay, I'd just point out, one of the things that I foresee a problem with, where, right there, we're on that map where it says Carroll Independent School, that is a heavily flooded area. So if we start to run a trail through there, a portion that will be underwater at times. I know the safety of that, I could see a big problem, trying to get across over to Veterans Park. That area, if we get 1, 2, 3 inches of rain, that whole area gets flooded, that farm ground gets flooded.
You don't think the engineers take that into consideration?
It's so low. You suppose you could build up a berm.
You're talking about if we extended north out of there, but not the existing.
Not, the way it's sitting now is fine. I think if you were to go, come in about, halfway where it says Carroll Independent Schools on the map, and you were to bring that up to straight north to Veterans Park, not going on Grant Road, going through the school's property there, coming through that farm ground, and then tying it right directly into the park there on the south side. And then there's a little connector that will take people from that park out to Grant Road. You can kind of see it way up there at the top. but going through that, there is a significant amount of water. That's where all the water drains from the golf course.
We're not looking to
But
go
once
through that.
again, we're.
Right?
that-
Not
that's-
presently, but
That's where our work
if you-
session could help us to
Correct.
just determine
And
that
some
idea.
engineering
I
expertise.
just soon keep it the way it is.
I think we need to get this thing moving, guys. I'd like to propose, and I guess I'm gonna need help with this. I would like to propose that we move forward with Section A, which would be, Jack, I believe, a total of $77,000 independently. Yeah, $77,000 for
Correct.
Section A, and then the $4,800 for the Main Street connection project. I would move that we proceed forward with this design for those two pieces, and then I would be happy to come back around to the work session to decide everything else, but we need trails. Let's get this thing
So is your
moving.
motion for both at the same time? in
My
one
motion is for both, for Section A and the Main Street connection. So we'd be expending $77,000 for Section A, and we'd be expending $4,800 for the Main Street connection.
Correct.
I'll second the motion.
Get a motion in a second. Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Manami?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Fleshner?
Yes.
Thank you. And then we'll get to the workshop.
Good job.
Okay.
Maybe
I'll talk to Jack, but I think we need to wait through the discussion with the church so that we have that out of the way.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Very good, thank you.
And then, Mr. Mayor, you're going to circle back around for a work session for us on
I
trails?
will get that going. Yep.
Thank you, sir.
If you guys want any help on the work session with the master plan, you can just call us. We'd be willing to help.
Will do. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, our 8th and final resolution is, oh, good, Jack, you're up again. Golf cart GPS agreement, 2016.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This agreement would be our third agreement on the GPS units out there. There's 30 golf carts. I've been calling about every week to see when our cars are coming, our new ones. We're hoping this week. So, and then they would take the old ones off, the old carts, and put on new GPS units. First agreement we had, we just had to pay, I believe, to put the units on. There was no charge, and now got the golfers liking those, and I think it'd be real tough if we didn't have them. We would hear a lot about that. Second agreement is about anywhere from $1,000 to $1,100. Well, now this proposal would raise that to $1,800 per year. Yeah, last agreement was $1,100. They've worked well, and actually this one, the last agreement was, a 3-year agreement, and I think we had him on there for 4 or 5 seasons, so he didn't charge us back pay, or, anything back on that one. So, I would recommend that the council approve this agreement for the one-time install of $10, where it was, to $18 now. We do assume liability if someone would break one. Hopefully we will figure that out and talk to just find out what happened if the GPS would break. And then the cost per year would be $1,800 compared to $1,100 the last time. And those would all be payable July 1 under new budgets of 16, 17, and 18. And at that point, we'll decide if they seem like they're in good working condition, we might keep them for another year or two, or otherwise we'll try to enter into a new agreement. And last time, we had to have approval from the financial lease company and the owners of the golf carts. We leased them, this time we own them, so we can just go ahead and put them on.
Does the GPS units, we will own those?
No, we're renting those,
We're
but
just
we own the
renting.
cars.
Right, we own the cars.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-year lease.
Yep, 3 years with negotiations after that.
$1,800 is for the GPS service, right?
Mm-hmm. To have them on there,
Satellite?
yeah, and they've worked well. It's nice.
What about I guess there won't be updates to those Because the golf course doesn't change.
It hasn't, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes from a marker on the tees to measure where you're at.
It doesn't tell you where the, where the cup's located, front, middle, or back.
No.
That's not on there, okay. Any other questions for Jack? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve the lease agreement with JPS Technologies for the lease per year amount of $1,800 per year.
I just got one question.
Oh, sorry.
Real quick, sorry. So, just so I'm right, so did we had an initial 10-year lease with them? And it was?
The original 3.
So we just got off a 3-year lease?
Yes. Well, the 3-year lease was, I think, 2 seasons ago. I never received anything about a new lease agreement. They were on there, they're working, I just left them on there. He didn't come take them off, he didn't ask for any pay, so, they were his to put on, take off, and he left them on there. So this is a new one. The original 3-year, I think we did a 3-year the first time, and then we went maybe 4 or 5 with the one that's just expiring now. So.
The only reason I asked that is 64% increase in rates seems high. I know this is a small amount, but that seems,
Yeah.
I mean, our health insurance went up 9%, which goes up crazy amounts of money.
Right.
Our golf cart lease for GPS goes up 64%.
Sure.
I don't know, is there any other companies that are available to do this, or do you feel comfortable using them? I mean,
I feel comfortable. I guess he's not local anymore. He was here in town. He's in Omaha now, but he's familiar with the area. When I've contacted him, he's responded relatively. We could look, and it would be a few weeks before they'd get put on. But golfers could adjust.
and don't get me wrong, it's $700 a year. I mean, I'm not, which is three times the amount of increase that we gave the guy reading water meters.
But you'll still be sitting there when the contract comes up and we'll prompt them.
That's it. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't have one on my golf cart, I get around just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you only hit the ball 40 yards.
It's easy. Hell, there goes the ball. I got the same ball I've had for 5 years.
Marks on all your balls?
That's right.
It's right in the fairway, and we have the little markers out there, that you're 100, 200 yards out.
Right.
Does our motion need to include something about the one-time install cost changing from $10 to $18 also?
It's just an operational thing.
Just operate,
Okay, so
yeah.
not worrying about
Just,
that.
if you approve the agreement as is.
Need to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, it's in the agreement, the 18 months.
Yeah, so you just approve the agreement. 30 cars.
So moved.
Nice to share this. Somebody had a second. Deb needs to know.
I did,
Derek.
if it's Brandon.
Brandon made the motion,
I'll second.
Okay,
Jerry seconded.
we have a motion and a second. Haley?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Motion approved, thank you. All right, then we're gonna get to our reports, and our first report is the 2015 Council Annual Planning Session Action Plan. And Gerald, did you want to talk
Sure.
about that, or you want me to?
You established your action plan and you adopted it October 8th of 2015. We have moved on 2 of those, the cemetery maintenance bill and the review of city sidewalk policy, which will probably have some follow-up on that. All of the rest of them were items that were the responsibility of the mayor and city council. That doesn't mean that we shirk our duty by not reminding you, so this is your reminder.
We are not through with the sidewalks though, correct?
No, not quite.
Yeah, yeah.
But we've taken action on it.
On that portion, because I have Randy's notes from March 28th, and he had us looking at curb ramps, sidewalk repair, which is what we discussed, and the sidewalk repair is what we were to look at. That was our goal. So I guess we can revisit that.
That's scheduled.
Yeah.
that will be coming back.
Okay, good, good.
And some of those workshops we did, I mean, we were spending a lot of time here, and I just wanted to let up a little bit so people can get home, but there's some other things here. Is there anything else? I mean, you want to look at Graham Park, ideas promote community events, theater?
I think promoting community events and stuff would tie in very nicely once we get the idea for Grand Park area, what Iowa State comes back, and then get that plan developed, and then decide if we need to have
You go
something
with that?
to start marketing it, so.
That sounds good.
For
Yeah,
a
we can-
priority for this year, we could almost remove it and kick it off for next year.
Can bring that back at a later time. I think we'll leave it in there. Graham Park parking. I think what we were looking at there is the tennis courts were getting a little used, and there is some rock parking down there, paving parking, I think increased parking space down there. If we're gonna do that, I think that's gonna require some land acquisition.
Across the street.
Across the street.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's looked at that to talk
Well, we
with
were
that
also gonna check
landowner.
on the parking that's already there and repositioning it.
Reposition it, right.
So that we would get more spaces out of it, and marking it, it's not marked.
No.
Which will potentially tie into the ISC
Right.
plan.
Well, that's true too.
Right,
All right, we'll
right.
keep that, look at those three
That
together.
has to come back.
How about city signs and entryways to the city? Won't everybody speak at once? I know that got brought up. I think we were looking there more on the outer edges, Highway 30, north of 71, just highlighting the fact that you're entering Carroll, otherwise you're you're halfway into town and halfway out once you get to Highway 3071.
Well, and it's funny, when you talk signage coming in, and I've been a big proponent of this. I had mentioned my wife, she says, well, it's got that Carroll sign out there by the corner. And I've looked for, I don't know how long, and I never think, when I come in, just the other day, I saw it, and it's like, wow, there's one there. It's not dominant at all.
Oh.
It's, you go into Boone, and heck, even Templeton, as small as they are, you know where you are. It's kind of saddening that we don't advertise that more.
Make something a little bit more prominent on the outer edges.
Yeah.
I mean, we can bring that to a workshop. I don't have a problem with that. We got city sidewalks, and then evaluation of compensation. I know that got brought forward. I hadn't heard anything more on that. Some of the other things that I thought we were doing were a little more important than that. That's something we can do a workshop on, or we can move that forward and discuss that at our next strategic planning. I don't know, I was comfortable with what I was doing. I guess I didn't. Compensation for me, it was more, wasn't so much monetary to me. To me, it's getting the community to move forward. So to me, that was compensation enough. I don't know where everybody else wanted to go. I know it was brought forward as one of the things.
I'm fine with what we're compensated. Some people have brought up that they'd like to see us compensated more so that we felt we had more onus, more skin in the game. I don't know. It wouldn't affect anything for me, so.
Yeah, I mean, I try to do as much as I can with this. I know I meet with Gerald once a week, sometimes twice a week. Sometimes I come down and harass Randy, just to make sure that we're staying on top of things. I mean, our city staff does such a good job of keeping up on stuff that it's really hard, but just me as mayor, I want to just keep informed so that if there are questions, and I think they're more than happy to have you guys come down and talk to them too, so. Something we can bring up at another time. Why don't we?
Does anybody, is the appropriate time then, Gerald, to revisit that at our planning session? Or?
You have an election coming up next fall, am I correct? You must have it done, David would know more about this code. It's so many months in advance of the election. Or you can't change it till the following election.
I mean, we're hearing some of us say we don't much have any appetite for it. Does anybody around the table want to continue.
Nobody
the
here is
service.
doing this for profit.
No, it's not.
I agree that it's fair that we're compensated something like we are. I would call it a stipend as it is, and I don't mind that. We're not here for that. Pays for paper, I have to print once in a while. But if you're comfortable where you're at, I'm fine with dropping it for now. Just drop it off.
Drop it
Yeah,
off.
I agree.
Anybody want to keep it on, should maybe ask.
I think it was brought up by the outgoing mayor, which I admire him for bringing that up, because I think it was one of those things, as I leave, I want to make sure I take care of people left behind. I think it's kind of the context it was brought up in, so.
He did mention, what he was advocating was certain positions being given membership to local, like the rec center or something like that, as opposed to money.
Okay. Well, we can revisit it again too. I didn't. I guess, and we'll look at city signs, entryways.
Yes.
Let's go with that. And then, Jack, when's that Graham Park study supposed to be coming forward? Do you know?
We're gonna be meeting this week,
Okay.
Thursday. If we could have one council person be on that. We had asked one Parks and Rec, and then the regular group that had been meeting, they've all been invited. So, up to this group of one, would like to attend. Probably four or five meetings, couple open house, where they show kind of the progress we're making. With that.
It's a big project.
Yeah. So,
There's a lot of input in that.
yeah.
I see
You
we're
want to
gonna-
appoint one of us to?
Is he-
That's like
is Rick's
condemnation.
volunteering? Are you volunteering?
I'm thinking that's the same night that I decided to go down to the meeting in Coon Rapids.
Oh.
Isn't that night, the 20?
It's
28th?
gonna be Thursday during the day. It's 11 to
Oh.
1. And we're gonna meet at DMAC.
I'm available.
Would either of our
I don't-
two new council people
Yeah.
have any interest in this?
There you go.
I'd be interested.
Are you doing Parks and Recs?
She's on the.
I'm on
Parks and Recs board already? Misty, would you be interested in it?
Sure.
That'd be
Thank you.
Calendar. You said Thursday, right?
Thursday 11 at DMAC. I'll email you the room. I need to remind everyone with an email. I just remember that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
And
All right.
again, with the Grant Park parking, is there discussion you want me to talk about the landowner over there yet, or you just want to hold?
Maybe we should
Why don't-
wait and see what comes through Iowa State.
Yeah, that and just kind of stay within the park, I would say.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
hold on to the landowner for now.
All right. Good.
Okay? Thank you. Chief,
Thank you, Mayor.
you are up. Last one.
For you. This is just a review of our current standard operating procedures. They have not been reviewed or edited since April 2010. It's just some time to make some changes, update on union contracts, some code changes, a couple additional policies also. And I did include them all with the memo I sent out, so there's quite a few pages here. So if you guys have any questions, feel free, we'll just run through them that way, maybe quicker than just going through each one page by page. Not really any controversy. Cell phone changes will be a big thing, and it'll probably snowball through the rest of the city. But if you guys don't have any questions, my recommendation is just the review and approval of the changes to our standard operating procedures as presented to you.
This looks like really good work, Brad.
I think it's telling that we need to add an active shooter response.
And most of
It's-
the businesses in town have
I wish we
taken their
did.
own steps and had training. We provide
Yeah.
training for them.
Yeah.
So this just allows everybody to kind of be on the same
Yeah,
page.
yeah.
move that we approve the changes to the Carroll Police Department standard operating procedures.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Haley?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Schlesman?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cox?
Thank you. Trust everyone has read the committee reports and the monthly activity reports, and I have one comment this evening. And this is in regards to the debris on the street or alley per request from concerned citizens. I would respectfully ask that everyone be conscientious about blowing their grass into the street, as there is an ordinance, and it's chapter 135.03, with regards to disposal, throwing, dropping, placing, and depositing. There's a list of materials, and one of those includes leaves and grass into the street. Randy, do you have any additional wording on that as far as?
Yeah, in addition to it being against the code to do so, it's also, has environmental impacts. Of course, first of all, we sweep the streets to try to keep it clean for people, and it cleans against that. But other than that, grass clippings themselves are pretty high concentration of nitrogen. And as that goes into the water courses, of course, it promotes the deterioration of the water. And we've got a few examples of that around town that are pretty much in direct correlation with grass clippings getting into the water. So in addition to being illegal, it's also kind of environmentally not kind to our surface waters.
I have not ever heard of anybody getting fined for that, but I don't think they're going to actively go out and look. I'm not going to, but just be a little more conscientious about what blows in. I'm guilty of it. I try to go out and get as much off as I can. Sometimes I just go and blow it back up into my street, or back up into my yard. But I know, I just, so you don't have those big clumps laying out in the middle of the road. I guess it's kind of what they were looking at. But thank you for listening. Any questions or comments from the council this evening? If not, I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
We got a motion and a second. Schlesman?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Base? Cox?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you.